One of the hardest things about chords is that there are so many different systems of notation to notate them. So today we're going to talk about figured bass notation, the oldest methods of notating chords, but also one of the more obscure methods. But we still use a lot of it today, so we have to know this system. So basically, before people knew what a C chord was, or a tonic chord, or a dominant chord, they were aware that certain intervals sounded good together. You have a third and a fifth above your bass, what we think of now as a regular triad in root position, they like that. If they had a third and a sixth above a bass, they like that too, what we think of as a first inversion, even a 6/4. So they were trying to look at the intervals over the bass to say what sounds good, what doesn't sound good, and they used that to notate their chords. It didn't tell them if a chord was major or minor. It only told them what the interval was within the key over the bass. And so I'm going to just review that with you to show you how it works. And let's just look at a C major chord. Now, I wrote a C major chord here. There it is in root position. And I wrote it with lots of notes on it. So you see the bass is a C, and then you can see up top it's root position, C, E, G. If you look at that C, E, G, you can see C to E is a third, C to G is a fifth. So that's a 5/3 chord. And I put in parentheses because we don't write if it's 5/3. We just assume it's 5/3. So if you see a bass note and there's no marking in this time period, that just meant root position. And that's true in our chords in classical music. If we don't put anything at all, it means we assume we're in root position. Now, the first inversion remembers when the third of the chord is in the bass instead of the root. And once again, that's supposed to be, there it is, C, E, G. But you now see it's E is on the bass. So if you look at the intervals above the E, the bass note, there's a third, E to G, but then it's a sixth, E to C. That's true of all first inversion triads. So that's a 6/3 chord. But again, they don't notate the 3. It goes without saying, so just use a 6. So 6 means a chord in first inversion. That's all. And then lastly, we have the second inversion, and you can see at the top here that there it is, that the C to the G to C is a fourth and then a sixth. So that's a 6/4 chord, and that we have to put everything because there's nothing we take for granted there. So that's just your standard notation. Now, if I were to change a chord, for example, let's say I was going to make an augmented chord on my first chord, and so I sharped the G like that. Then all I would do is I would go to that bottom note, the 5, that's a fifth above the bass. Whoops, get it over here. And I would sharp the 5 right here in the notation. That just tells me that I've altered the note, changed it from the key. So I sharp the fifth, I just write a sharp 5. So any alteration from the key is also put in these symbols, and then you'd have to leave the 5 in there. But basically, if you see nothing, it's a root position chord. If you see a 6, it's a first inversion triad. If you see a 6/4, it's a second inversion triad. And that's all you really need to know. But later on, we'll have chords that have sevenths and ninths and weird things, and they'll also show up in the figured bass notation. So we do want to understand the theory. It's just measuring intervals over the bass note. If we understand that, then we can understand that 5/3, root position, leave it alone. All right, more coming. Thank you.